So this happened when I was about 16, during a stormy night in Texas. I remember it clear as day, even though it's been a couple years now. It's just one of those things that kind of sticks with you, you know? It was around mid-October, I think. Not freezing cold, but cool enough that the windows were shut and the sky looked heavy all day. My parents had gone out of town for the weekend, some work thing my dad had to go to. I didn't want to go, so they let me stay home by myself. I was old enough, and they trusted me. I'd done it before. So that night, I was in the basement. That's where I had my gaming setup. It's one of those finished basements, not creepy or anything. Carpet, couch, TV, my PC set up in the corner. I always liked hanging out down there, especially during storms. Something about it just felt cozy. Anyway, I was gaming like I usually do. Had my headphones on, lights dimmed, snacks next to me. I was in the zone. The storm had been going on for a while, wind blowing hard, rain hitting the windows. Every now and then, the thunder would get loud enough to rattle stuff upstairs, but I was used to it. It's Texas. Big storms are normal. But then the power cut out. Everything just went black. Total silence. No screen, no background noise, just the sound of rain and thunder outside. At first I thought maybe I tripped something, but then I realized it was the whole house. Maybe even the whole street. I took off my headset and sat there for a second, letting my eyes adjust. I remember hearing the wind pick up, like a huge gust pushed against the side of the house. So I got up and went to grab the flashlight we kept in the laundry cabinet across the room. I knew right where it was. My mom always made sure we had one nearby during storms. As I opened the cabinet and turned on the flashlight, I swung it around the room, just checking everything out. Not because I was scared or anything, just reflex, I guess. And that's when I saw it. In the far corner of the basement, there's a small rectangular window near the ceiling. It's ground level from the outside, one of those half-basement windows that looks out into the yard. We've got bushes out there, nothing fancy. But in that window, there was a face, staring in. I froze. My brain didn't really register it at first. I just stood there, light pointed in that direction, and this pale face was just looking straight into the basement. It wasn't pressed against the glass or anything. It was just there, still, watching. And then it was gone. Just like that. One blink and it vanished. I didn't even have time to move or say anything. It was just there, and then gone. I told myself I imagined it. Maybe a trick of the flashlight, or the reflection of the light in the window. Maybe my own face somehow bounced off the glass or something. That's what I kept telling myself. But I didn't go near that window again. I turned around, walked back to the couch, and sat down. Tried to act normal, tried to ignore the feeling in my gut. That crawling, unsettled feeling like something wasn't right. The power didn't come back for another hour. I just sat there the whole time, flashlight on the coffee table, trying not to look at the window. Every creak or tap from the storm made me jump a little. I told myself I was being dramatic, that I was tired, that it was nothing. Eventually, the lights flickered back on. Everything powered up again. The TV, the PC, the heater. It was like nothing had happened. I even laughed a little, trying to brush it off. But deep down, I knew what I saw. Still, I stayed in the basement for a bit longer. Tried to keep my mind off it by watching YouTube and playing some dumb game. Around midnight, I started getting tired, so I shut everything down and went upstairs to my room. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. In the kitchen. Soft, but clear, like someone walking across the tile floor, slow and careful. Just a few steps, then silence. I stood at the top of the stairs, holding my breath. Our kitchen is open to the living room, and from the stairs, I can see part of the hallway leading to it. I couldn't see the kitchen itself, but I could hear it. Another step. Then the sound of the fridge creaking open. I didn't move. I just stood there frozen for who knows how long. Finally, I worked up the courage to yell out something like, "Hello? Who's there?" Silence. No answer. No more footsteps. Nothing. I ran back to my room, locked the door, and sat on my bed with a baseball bat until morning. I didn't sleep. Not even for a second. When the sun came up, I went downstairs to check everything out. The kitchen was fine. Nothing missing, nothing out of place. The front and back doors were still locked. All the windows too. Except the basement window. That one had scratch marks on it. Right there on the outside. Just below the glass, near the edge. Like someone had been digging at the window frame with something sharp, trying to lift it open. I just stared at it. There was dirt smeared across the bottom too, and something that looked like a fingerprint on the glass. I showed it to my dad when they got back. He tried to tell me it was probably just from the storm, branches or something scratching against the house. But I know what I saw. It was a face, a real person, watching me, and whoever it was, they were trying to get in. This happened when I was 17, and I still think about it every once in a while. It was just one night, but it really stuck with me. I live in a small town in Pennsylvania. Pretty quiet neighborhood. We're not super far out in the country, but far enough that you don't hear a lot of cars or see a lot of people at night. Just trees, porch lights, and dark windows. Anyway, this was a Friday night. My parents were out. I think they were at a late dinner with friends or something. They told me they'd be home around midnight. I didn't feel like going, so I stayed in. I was in the living room, just hanging out. We had this big old TV in there, nothing fancy. I had a blanket, snacks, and I was flipping through channels trying to find something to watch. I think I settled on some random true crime rerun or maybe one of those old mystery shows. Something slow, but kinda creepy. It was the kind of night where the house felt extra quiet. The only sound was the TV and the occasional creak from the walls. It was around 11 p.m. when the weird stuff started. The TV suddenly went to static. Not like the channel just changed. Full-on static. Loud and sudden. That crackling white noise sound. It made me jump, honestly. I grabbed the remote and tried changing the channel, but it wouldn't do anything. The buttons just didn't respond. And then the lights flickered. Just for a second. They didn't go fully out, but they dimmed like the power dipped. And then they came back to normal. I remember just sitting there, remote in my hand, not really sure what to think. I figured it was just the power acting up or something with the cable. It's not super uncommon around here when the weather's weird. But that night, the weather was fine. No rain, no wind, just still. I tried turning the TV off. Nothing. Still static. Still that harsh buzzing sound filling the room. And then I noticed something. In the hallway. Our living room faces this short hallway that leads to the bedrooms. We always leave the hall light off at night, so it's usually pitch black down there. But because the TV was still glowing, even with the static, there was a soft light just barely reaching into the hallway. And that's when I saw it. A figure. Someone was standing at the edge of the hallway, halfway behind the wall. Not moving. Just standing there. It wasn't my parents. I knew that immediately. They weren't home yet. And this person wasn't saying anything. Not even breathing loud. They were just there. Like they were watching me from the shadows. I couldn't see their face. Just the shape of someone tall. Too tall to be my mom, and the way they stood, it didn't look familiar. They didn't shift or step forward or duck back. Just still. I stared at them for a long time. It was like I couldn't move. I remember my hands started shaking, and I gripped the remote like it would protect me. I said out loud, "Who's there?" Nothing. I stood up slowly, not taking my eyes off the hallway. My heart was pounding so hard, it was hard to hear anything else. I backed up toward the kitchen where I had left my phone on the counter. All I could think was, someone broke in, they're inside. I dialed 911. I told them someone was in the house. I gave them my address, whispered that I thought someone was standing in my hallway. The dispatcher told me to stay on the line and stay hidden. I moved to the pantry closet in the kitchen and pulled the door almost shut. While I was in there, still whispering with the dispatcher, I suddenly heard footsteps. Just a few steps. Then a door creaked open. It was coming from down the hallway, from the bedrooms. I whispered into the phone, telling them someone was moving around back there. The dispatcher told me officers were on the way and to stay quiet and keep the door shut. A few minutes passed, probably the longest minutes of my life. Then I heard nothing. Silence. Just the low static from the living room still buzzing away. Then a knock at the door. 3 sharp knocks. I didn't answer right away until I heard someone call out, "Police!" I came out of the pantry, heart still racing, and opened the door. There were 2 officers standing there, one of them with his flashlight already out. They searched the whole house, every room, every closet, even outside. They didn't find anyone, but they did find something. My parents' bedroom, at the end of the hallway, it had been rummaged through. Drawers open, closet doors swung wide, some of my mom's clothes pulled out, stuff dumped on the floor. But nothing was stolen. Wallets, jewelry, electronics, everything was still there. It was like whoever was in the house was looking for something, but not to take. Just searching. The cops asked me a bunch of questions. I told them exactly what I saw, how the TV went to static, the lights flickered, and how someone was just standing there not saying a word. They couldn't explain it. No forced entry. All doors were locked, no fingerprints, no signs anyone left through a window or anything like that. They stayed until my parents got home, and then they left. That night, none of us slept. We installed cameras the next day, and we keep them on 24/7 now. This happened to me about a year ago, and even now I still get chills thinking about it. It was just one of those nights that felt off from the start. It was around 2 a.m. on a weekend. I live in Georgia, kind of on the edge of a small town. Not super rural, but not really suburban either. Just woods, houses spaced far apart, a few streetlights here and there. Pretty quiet most nights. Almost too quiet. That night, I was home alone. My parents had gone out of town for a wedding, and I didn't want to go, so they let me stay behind. I was 17, old enough. I had the house to myself, which I usually loved. Anyway, I was in the living room watching a horror movie. One of those slow burn creepy ones, nothing too crazy. The room was dark except for the glow of the TV. I had my phone next to me, the snacks on the table, and the whole house to myself. It felt normal at first. But around 2 a.m., just as the movie was getting to a tense part, I heard this knock. Not loud, just 3 soft knocks on the front door. I paused the movie and sat up. I wasn't expecting anyone. It's not like I have friends who randomly show up at 2 in the morning. And besides, nobody was supposed to be home. I got up and walked over to the door. We have one of those narrow windows next to the front door, and I peeked out, but there was no one there. I stood there for a second, waiting to see if maybe someone stepped away or was messing with me. But the porch was empty, totally still, not even wind. Then I saw something that made my stomach twist. Fresh, muddy handprints on the glass. Like someone had leaned in, both hands pressed against the door. The prints were big, not like a kid's hand. Full-sized and wet. You could tell they were fresh. I stood there staring at them for way too long. My heart was pounding in my chest, but I kept trying to talk myself out of it. Like maybe it's a prank, or maybe someone came to the wrong house. Something normal. Something that made sense. I walked through the house, checked the back door, still locked. Kitchen window shut. Everything looked fine. I sat back down on the couch and tried to finish the movie, but I couldn't focus. I kept glancing at the front hallway. My ears were tuned in like I was waiting for something. Then, about 10 minutes later, but this time, it came from the side window. That window looks out to the side yard where there's no porch, no light, no reason anyone should be standing there. I jumped up again and walked over, turned on the outside light, and looked out. Nothing. No one there. Just the side yard and the trees behind our fence. But on the glass, more muddy handprints. smudged, like someone touched the glass and dragged their hand down a little. I started to feel that weird fear. Not like panic, just that deep, creeping feeling in your stomach where you know something isn't right. I grabbed my phone and texted my parents, even though I knew they were probably asleep. I didn't want to call the cops just yet. I didn't really have anything to tell them. Just knocks and handprints. I locked every door again, just in case, and went back to the couch, this time with all the lights on. About 5 minutes passed from the back door. That one scared me the most. I didn't even go check right away. I just froze. I eventually crept into the kitchen, flipped on the back porch light, and slowly looked through the glass. Again, no one. But there they were. Muddy handprints. On the outside of the door, right at eye level. Same as before. That's when I called the cops. I told them someone was knocking on my windows and doors and leaving muddy handprints but never showing their face. They said they'd send someone to check it out. While I was waiting, I went upstairs to look out the window and see if I could spot anything outside. Nothing. No movement. No sound. Then, just as I turned around, from downstairs, it was the living room window this time. Same pattern. 3 slow knocks. By now, I was pacing. Lights were all on. I had a baseball bat in one hand and my phone in the other. It wasn't panic anymore. It was just dread. I didn't even go look that time. I stayed upstairs until I saw the headlights pull into the driveway. 2 officers came in and did a full walk around the property. They checked all the doors and windows, even looked through the yard. They didn't find anything. No footprints, no signs of someone jumping the fence. The only thing they saw were the muddy handprints on 3 different windows and both doors. One of the officers came back inside and told me this wasn't the first time they'd gotten a call like this. He said there'd been a few reports in the last couple months, always around the same time, always just soft knocks, handprints, no forced entry, nothing stolen. Just creepy. They left after a while, told me to call back if anything else happened. I stayed up the rest of the night, lights on, barely even blinking. Nothing else happened after that. No more knocks, no more handprints. But I've thought about it a lot since then. Whoever it was, they didn't try to get in. They didn't break anything, didn't leave a message, didn't run when I looked. They just wanted me to know they were there.